Broadcasting to you on WNN 1470 AM and TrentoVision.tv from the world's leading think tank laboratory, buried deep in an undisclosed building in hostile territory where evil and corruption is exposed. You're about to enter the Tom Trento Show.
All hands man your battle station.
Tom Trento heads United West, a group that says it defends Western civilization against the onslaught of Islam.
And that doesn't mean we go into Islamic countries and blow them up unless there's a reason to do that. Like there was in Iraq, like there was in Afghanistan, like there isn't yet in Syria. Maybe the time will come when you hear us say, it's time to go. And when that day comes, trust me, Israel would have been there a day before us, okay? That's more of a concern, the country of Syria, to the nation of Israel than it is to the United States in an immediate sense. You see, they're on the same border. Syria to Israel is like New York to New Jersey. Now, with that analogy, which one would be New Jersey?
Uh-oh, and what exit would they be?
Yeah, what exit would they be on? Hello, everybody. September 10th. Good to see all of you on this Tuesday, one day after our Congress is back in session and the debate is starting. And this week, what an exciting time to be alive in the United States of America. We're recognizing tomorrow the 12th anniversary. You realize all the kids running around that are 11 years old never experienced
Unbelievable.
9/11. Abdullah, where were you on 9/11?
I was actually in New Jersey. I was in your state.
Oh, you were in New Jersey?
Yes.
Okay.
What a party was going on there.
You were in New Jersey at the time?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. FBI, please. I need to talk to you. Yeah.
What are you doing?
What's your social
Show
security
off
number?
your
Abdullah?
I don't have
phone.
social security number.
You don't have one of those.
Not for
Okay.
public consumption.
Have you met with our? You were in the immediate area.
I was on the ground. I was in New Jersey. What do you want from me?
Just wondering. Where were you, CJ?
I was in Florida, actually, because it was, I came down right before the Jewish holidays. It was, and,
Which are every September.
yes.
Well, every other day.
There are a lot of Jewish holidays. I mean, David Earl Shemi, a good friend of ours, Team B, all of that. He'll go, okay, I'm signing out now for 17 days, family, food, faith. Bye, everybody. I don't know how he does what he gets done. Then he comes back, he goes, 3 more days, see you in 3 days. And then he comes back and says, well, I see I missed all of this going on, but let me do this, you know. So where were you? Tell us briefly.
Well, I came down to visit my family, and I actually got to Fort Lauderdale from Seattle the day before, and I went out with my sister and her fiance,
I never
who
heard
I
the
got to
story.
meet that time. And we went out, and then the next morning I woke up with like a bad hangover and went into the living room and saw on TV what was happening.
What did you
and I
think it
just
was?
Couldn't believe it. Well, when I saw the first plane, I thought it was an accident.
Right, everybody.
And then when I saw the second plane, I thought it was Islamic terrorism.
Mark, where were you?
San Antonio, Texas.
S.A. At the Alamo?
Well, yes. Actually, I was at the Alamo.
Was that in your previous life as a big game hunter?
Yeah, my previous life as a big game
What'd you-
at a
Where'd you get that hat? What's that hat all about?
Hey, I'm preparing for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
On the 9/11 day, to be out in the 95-degree heat.
He looks
With
like a zookeeper.
thunderstorms.
Thunderstorms.
Yeah. Oh, and I just thought of something else.
How's-
Oh, I
wait, it's his
totally
turn.
forgot.
It's
Oh,
his
no, I
turn.
just, sorry, no,
Go
go
ahead, CJ.
Before
No,
we
no, no, no,
continue,
no.
how's the giraffes doing?
How's the giraffe?
Yeah, he's on safari.
What, CJ? What did you just think of?
What did you think of, CJ?
Well, what I thought of was I couldn't get back to Seattle
All right.
because all the
Not that anybody would want to go back to Seattle, but
all
okay.
the planes were down, and I ended up taking a train across the country.
No
Yes.
friggin'
Yes.
way. Oh.
It was a day, and it was packed, and everybody. It was an incredible experience because everybody was.
How long after 9/11? Like, what day did you leave?
Like within about a week.
Okay, so
Yeah.
still very
Oh
intense.
yeah.
Yes.
There were survivors from the World Trade Center on the train, and pretty much everybody I met on the train was on the train because they couldn't get home any other way, and everybody had a story to tell, and everybody was helping each other with the traveling, and everybody was so pro-America, and we ran out of supplies on the train. You know, first the
7
margaritas,
days.
and then the wine, and then there was no food, and it was a real
Did
adventure.
you have a sleeper car, or did you just have?
I did, yeah. Yeah.
That's a little better.
Because it
but
would have
still,
been a little bit whiffy if I didn't.
If you
but,
go from, I took
yeah.
one once, in November, I had a reunion to go to, so about 6 weeks after 9/11, I took the train because I wasn't flying until they figured out how to secure the doors and everything. Took the train from South Florida to New Jersey, and I learned that the guys who lay track in North Carolina are not the same guys that lay track in South Carolina, okay? Because one of the rides is like this. And then in North Carolina, going, what's this? Oh, they lay track a little differently here. Oh, how nice. And then if you have a sleeper, it's an experience going to the potty. Your potty is under your bed.
Oh, no, I had a separate.
A separate little door thing?
Yeah.
You went with the big bucks, let me tell you.
The exclusive
Yeah.
suite. Yes, you
Yeah. My sleeper had,
doubled as a sink.
right,
Oh.
you lift the mattress up and a little.
Oh, no. This had like a little, it had the bunk beds, so you could sleep on the bottom or on the top. And it had a chair, and you could pull out the bed and
She
and
had the
have a
deluxe
sofa.
cabin.
You did.
She had the
You had
first
No, it
the
class
wasn't
cabin.
no, it wasn't.
Yes,
the
it
deluxe
was,
one.
CJ. I've been on many sleeper cars. There's the ones that me and Tom travel in.
Yes.
And then there's the ones that you travel in, CJ.
She travels in the kosher cars. She gets to travel in the kosher cars, yes?
Well, actually, the reason why I got that little room was because there was nothing else available. Because everything was
Only
sold
thing
out.
available was
Oh,
first
okay,
class.
okay.
So I had to pay extra.
Excuse me,
You are-
Lovey.
Excuse me, lovey.
CJ, for all of CJ's fans.
This is Thurston Howell III. I was hoping you could book us a train to Seattle.
It's CJ and me. For all of CJ's fans.
Yes, my
out there.
mistress CJ and I will be traveling across the country, and we'd like our privacy.
And we don't want one of those bathrooms underneath the bed.
Underneath
That
the
is
bed.
so disgusting.
That really is
For all of
bad.
CJ's fans out there, she's high maintenance.
No, I am not.
Just plug in the curlers and everything's
Here,
fine.
here,
Yeah,
All
plug
right,
in
so
the
you-
curlers, bring me my coffee, and everything's okay. No, come on.
Okay, so you had,
Let's
Come on.
look
I'm
at
never
Captain
gonna get a
Kangaroo
date
over
if
here.
you keep doing that.
Captain Kangaroo.
Captain Kangaroo.
Mark is getting ready. Tomorrow, Wednesday, September 11th, we are going to be at Patriots
Road
Park in
trip.
Venice, Florida. Going on a road trip. Patriots Park in Venice, Florida. Venice is just south of Sarasota, about an hour north of Naples, Florida, on the West Coast. Everybody's invited. It's a big memorial recognition of 9/11. And Gene Sweeney, good friend of ours, veteran, at his own, doing it himself. He got a group of people, and they organized and built a memorial statue, essentially, like the wall in Vietnam, concept like that, but it's got a different, if we can find it, if you can Google
Sweeney?
the Patriot Park Memorial, not statue, memorial, whatever it's called. We're going to see it. And he has engraved the names of many of the soldiers
From Florida.
military
The
folks
Yeah.
who have died in this. And this will be the first annual memorial event for 9/11 and those who have died subsequently I'm the keynote speaker at this with a bunch of other fabulous speakers, some parents of survivors from Extortion 17, from the CIA bombing. That's tomorrow, 9/11, September 11th, 2013, 10 a.m. East Coast time to 2 p.m., 4 hours. And then right afterwards, the Ramada Inn in Venice is offering a reduced, high-value, low-price lunch for all the people there. It's like $6 or $7 for a complete buffet meal. So we'll see you there. But Mark is getting ready because we're gonna show you on our show 5 o'clock. We're gonna show you at least 1 hour of the event tomorrow, and it's
No
outside.
pressure there.
It's outside, and the speakers like me are gonna be covered, but the camera
But the
people
rest
like
of
Mark
us
are gonna look like this.
Are going to look like this.
Gonna look like that, but only with an IV drip and a big fan blowing on them with ice cubes. There it is.
Oh, there it is.
There's
and
the
you know
memorial.
what? I think it's absolutely amazing that he did this in less than 3 years.
Got the whole
Okay.
concept, got approved. People didn't want that in the
New
park.
York
Had to go through the
City,
politics.
in New
Yeah,
York
it's a big-
City,
big-
there is no 9/11 memorial.
Big kerfuffle over that.
We don't want to insult the Muslims.
Yeah.
Because there's too many governments involved and too much politics. And
and
you
the-
leave it to real people and the job gets done, boom, like
The
that.
the chief of police, I think he's the mayor now. The mayor, Tom McNutty, I believe that's his name, in Venice was the chief of police on 9/11, and when it hit, the FBI had intelligence on Osama
Right.
bin Laden. They found the cars parked in the parking lots,
Yeah.
and they immediately the next day were in Venice,
In Venice at the
tracking down
airport,
Mohammed
yeah.
Atta, and Tom McNutty, the chief of police then, mayor now, was basically the liaison for the FBI in Venice. So he was in the center of the investigation in Venice of Mohammed Atta and 2 or 3 other of the terrorists who trained at one of the air parks there. And Gene Sweeney, wanting to reverse the image that Venice had as a training ground for 9/11 flight terrorists,
Right.
built this phenomenal memorial and is engraving the names as the brave warriors die. We'll be there tomorrow, Wednesday, 9/11. We're going to bring you that show tomorrow evening, 5 to 6. Stay tuned. Today, we're going to take a look at Benghazi, which is the 800-pound gorilla in front of the administration that they're ignoring in an effort to go after
Tom, that was
Bashar
such a long
Assad.
time ago. What do you keep talking about?
I know,
this?
I know.
That is
such
so
such
a
yesterday.
year ago.
That was so yesterday.
Way to play politics.
Yes. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where were you, Damon,
Yeah,
our
way to-
producer? Where were you in 9/11?
Where was
Yeah,
I?
'cause
I had
he's
just
like-
moved to Florida from Chicago.
Chicago.
I was just there last
And
week.
I was talking to a friend of mine on the floor of the Chicago Board of Trade. And
From where? You were home?
I was
or-
home. I just moved down. I was getting ready to go to work. I had a job that started a little later and
He had
finished
a
a little
real
later in the
job.
day. And hogwash. That was the name of the job. Hogwash, motorcycle detail.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Anyway,
gosh, that's pretty good.
Get it? Hogwash.
Yeah,
Bike
yeah, we
detail.
get it. Even
Anyway,
I get it.
can I answer the question? So I was So I was talking to a friend of mine
Hogwash.
from the Chicago Board of Trade.
You miss him.
And
Totally.
he goes, "Did you see what happened?" And that was after the first, before the second. And I'm talking to him. As I'm talking to him, the second plane hits, and I'm watching it on TV. And within 15, 30 seconds, he goes, "Up, they're evacuating us." Now, for those who aren't familiar with the Chicago Board of Trade, it's probably about 5,000 people in one giant room, which are actually 2 giant rooms, the grain and the financials. Probably 6,000, 7,000 between the 2 rooms. Immediately within 50, because it's very similar to the World Trade Center as far as being a trading floor. They have the NYMEX, the New York Commodity Exchange there. So Chicago was evacuated within 30 seconds of the second plane hitting. And
Did you have any clue what was going on?
I mean, as soon as I saw the second one go, I knew what it had to be.
Yeah.
Mark, now you were in San Antonio.
Right.
Were you in a hotel? You were working? What
I was
was
actually
your?
in a hotel. I just got back from Australia. I was in IT stuff,
Yep.
and just got back from Australia. I was actually getting ready to go do a job in the IT industry with Cisco networks and things, and then I got a call from my mother-in-law, who says, "Hey, you turned on the TV yet?" And I go, "No." I turn on, and there it is on the TV. Secondly, but the most important, the thing I think impressed me most about 9/11 wasn't actually 9/11 per se, which had a dramatic impact on my life, but was 9/12 and 9/13 and 9/14, because I left San Antonio and traveled back to Alabama across from Texas.
How'd you get there?
I-10 drove. And as I was going through there, I just remember seeing all the houses with all the flags. There wasn't just one, it wasn't just two.
Yeah.
It was like you just travel, and everywhere you saw was, flags and flags and flags and flags. It was, it touched my heart. It really did.
Well, that's how good the IO, the influence operation has been by the enemy, because the country was indeed united in that first sweet spot, that first period of time after 9/11. But then as we had to do something about it, it's very easy for people to be united in tragedy and in horror. But to then go and do something about it, half the country doesn't have the will to do anything but just grovel in tragedy and be united in tragedy, when the other half wants to go and say, okay, you know what? We got to stop this from happening again. There's a dividing line between people that are used to, and by their own personality, don't want to be confrontational, but will learn to adapt and to be conditioned to whatever horror the world gives them. And there's other people that say, nah, 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 nah. Well, that's the divide that exists right now. And conversely, this administration over the past couple of weeks has turned that upside down on its head, when we ought not be intervening in a regional crisis, in a Muslim civil war. When we ought not be intervening, President Obama unilaterally says, yeah, we do. We do, because there are horrible pictures of these little babies being gassed. They are horrible pictures. But if you want to see YouTube videos, we can show you videos of 12-year-old kids beheading other human beings and praising Allah Akbar, yelling like that. We can show you videos of young kids involved in killing other young kids, assassinating them. They're all over in this sad world, in the Islamic battles. These videos are all over the place. So to make as your standard for U.S. national security red lines the horror of Muslims killing themselves, we'll be jumping to 56 countries every 10 minutes. I mean,
Right.
What is that all about?
Exactly. And
So-
if you look at, all right, compare that to, is gas attacks as hard as, going into a Coptic church, burning down a Coptic church and
Setting them on fire.
Set them on fire.
We
burning
saw Pastor Umar Melinde,
Yeah, that's where it's going.
who had acid thrown on his face.
Is it as horrible as
Yeah.
sitting in a hospital, in Shiva Hospital, interviewing a man who had acid thrown on his face, and finding out it's not just a one-time occurrence, it's a regular occurrence? Is that more horrific than a gas attack? Is it also more horrific, or maybe your moral grounds just aren't on death and dismemberment and maiming? Maybe your moral outrage happens to come with pedophilia, happens to come with raping young boys in the field in Afghanistan or somewhere else. Is that your moral outrage? I mean, give me a break. I mean, yeah, this is outside the bounds. Excuse me, 99% of what the Islamic world does over there is outside the bounds of normal humanity.
There is a very big difference.
What?
This is within the Muslim community. This is a religious war, intra-Muslim religious war. And what we're doing is your Muslim Brotherhood Influence Administration is taking the proper side. That is what this is. And please do not forget.
All right, here we are, folks. 20 minutes after 5 o'clock on 10
Yeah.
September. It's the 9th month of the year, the 10th day of the month, the 13th year of the 21st century. There's a bunch of numbers for for your
I
newsmatic.
thought it was 57.75.
It is that too.
5774.
74, 5774. So Tom Trento here, CJ, the Bunker Boys over here in our bunker.
Fabulous bunker
21
boys.
minutes after 5 o'clock. We are on WNN 1470. Great radio station, South Florida, but we're also broadcast, simulcast. We produce this television show, and we want all of you to start telling your friends about the show. We'll give you insights, opinions into some of the most serious and critical national security, personal survival information that's necessary in these days, particularly as we're advancing into areas we ought not be advancing. Tell your friends. You can look at us on, how's this thing work? This little iHeart
little
deal,
icon
CJ?
thing?
Yeah, put that.
Yeah, how's that?
Let's tell the folks about
You
us.
download the iHeart radio app
Go on her, and I got to take this
on
thing
your
to my stupid head.
smartphone, for your smartphone, and then you can add WNN.
Right there, top right-hand side.
WWNN, actually.
Yeah,
It's
to find it there.
WWNN.
Well, WNN also works. By the
Yeah,
way.
it
Yeah.
does.
Tried to-
That's true.
Yeah. And then you can listen to it wherever you are, wherever
Or
your
watch
smartphone
us.
works.
Or watch
Or
us
you
on
can
YouTube.
watch us on TrentoVision.tv. Or you can watch us from the TeaPartyCommunity.com. Or you can link to us from Bare Naked Islam. Or if, and you,
BizPac, yeah.
yeah. Are we on BizPac?
No, we're not on there, but we push them.
We're
very-
not in
very-
there, but we're not
They're
on
good.
their page, but we do read them every day, bizpackreview.com.
Yeah, they're a little squirrely on us.
Yeah. Also, we read watchdogwire.com for breaking news.
Also, if you do not want to watch or listen and turn on Al Jazeera, that is also
do that too.
fine with me.
Al Jazeera.
Also, if you missed our show from 5 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday Eastern Time, you can catch us on the archives at youtube.com/theunitedwest. You can also visit theunitedwest.org and click on the Donate Securely button
I had to.
and show your appreciation for the fabulous job that we're doing.
I had to yell at one of, not yell. I had to discipline. No, that's not the right
Beat
word.
up.
I had to make a highly suggest to one of our fans, one of our good friends. Yesterday, one of the ones that is one of the folks that's coming with us to Israel, and she said, your show is great. You guys are great. She goes, I must confess. I said, well, how do you listen? She goes, well, I watch you on my iPhone while I'm driving. Right?
Oh, very
Bad
bad.
idea.
Very
idea.
bad.
Don't do that, because we're going to probably make you cry or laugh, as
Right.
the case may
Right.
be. 10th of September, very quickly.
You can listen to your iPhone through iHeartRadio.
Yes.
Or
Put it
you
that
can
way.
just yes.
The
you can
sound is really good. I mean,
We will send you
really
pictures.
sound
Do
like
not
a
drive and
professional
watch.
show when you listen to it on there.
But what we want you to do this week, this is an activism week, because we have Congress in session debating whether or not to intervene in this war. We're going to tell you a little bit about the war in a second. And we have 9/11. We have the recognition of a very tragic day, a day that goes down in infamy in the country, tomorrow, September 11th. And we are fed up with and disgusted with the administration's not only chaotic but schizophrenic understanding and management of the Islamic Jihad as it's been perpetrated in Benghazi, where 4 Americans were killed, and it's ho-hum, let's move on from
Yeah.
that, Hillary Clinton, and Obama, let me know what's going on with the dead people. I'm going to Las Vegas to a fundraiser, which he did. Now you tell me, those of you individuals out there that voted for President Obama, I don't want to call you names.
We're gonna get
I'm going to allow you to call
aggravated
yourself
all
names,
over
okay?
again.
knuckleheads.
You
okay.
voted for
Oh.
President Obama, and you probably did it from a selfish perspective, saying, this cat's going to give me more stuff than the Republicans will, so I'm going with him. Well, in America, it doesn't quite work that way. If you want America to maintain its Americanness and be selfless as opposed to self-centered. So if you voted for him for purely utilitarian reasons for your own personal advancement or whatever. You're now experiencing the fruit of the seeds that you planted back on the 8th or 2008, 2012, where we have a schizophrenic commander-in-chief who doesn't understand Islamic Jihad, doesn't understand the threat doctrine, doesn't prosecute. I declare we will catch the offenders in Benghazi. The FBI couldn't get into Benghazi to investigate for 3 weeks. What kind of superpower is that in a rat hole city? Throw Benghazi up there.
How about CNN interviewed the perpetrators and told the FBI, they're here, and the FBI still couldn't find them.
Ambassador Stevens' diary. CNN found it.
Right.
It should be CNN Bureau of Investigation, FBI media. Let's take a quick look at Benghazi. Now, that's the Northern Africa.
Right in the top part of Africa. Right.
The most recognizable, for those of you driving, keep your eyes on the car and the wheel and all of that. For those of you watching, the most recognizable part of that beautiful map is my homeland, my family's homeland. The wonderful boot in the Mediterranean of Italy.
Hey, you're so self-centered, Trento.
If you look at the toe of the boot and go directly down from the toe of the boot, which would be a bit southeast, you will, about 400 or 500 miles off of Sicily, basically, where my family's actually from. You will be in the lovely resort town of Benghazi, son of warriors.
Actually, it's more south of Greece. It's more
Due south, yeah, but
due south of
the
Greece.
point of reference is always Italy, Mark.
Okay.
It's
Always
the
Italy.
center of the world. What's
Yes.
the matter with you, Captain Kangaroo? Eh?
What's
Hey,
the
Trento, you let the Captain Kangaroo.
No. Italy is the center of the world.
You know,
Please.
he's never going to want to take that hat off.
I'm never taking the
now.
hat off. I'm never taking it off.
All right, so let's show the folks. We've got a wide shot now of the Mediterranean, and to the right-hand side, which is to the east, you could see the Red Sea. You could see Saudi Arabia, Egypt right there, straight lines. The
I
British
think-
said, this is the
Oh,
country.
you just said Egypt, okay? Because we have to do a little footnote here before
Yes.
you get into the timeline of Benghazi, because the attack on the embassy
Yes.
in Cairo preceded what happened in Benghazi, and our embassy was breached in Cairo on September 11th, 2012.
12.
And you saw the black flag of Al Qaeda flying
They
at your
scaled the
embassy.
embassy
That must be
walls,
so embarrassing
took
for
down
you.
the United States flag, burned it, and put up the black flag.
That must have been so
Of
embarrassing for you,
Al-Qaeda.
Kofars.
Now let's take a look at this. This is very
And
important.
we
folks.
did not defend our embassy in Cairo.
This is very important. It's
This
Tuesday
laid the
the 10th.
groundwork for Benghazi.
Well, it's Tuesday the 10th of September. We want you, the action step for this show is to email the link to all your friends and tell everybody to contact, very important right now, your your federal elected officials. You have 2 senators from every state. Contact those. In Florida, it's Marco Rubio, the Republican, and Bill Nelson, the Democrat.
How can you tell?
Good point.
Yeah, really.
And then based upon your population, you have X amount of state representatives to Congress.
29.
So here we have 29. So whatever your state is, it's different. And one of those individuals represents the area in which you live. So ideally, find out who that person is, whether you're in South Dakota or Virginia or Vermont or New Mexico or wherever. Contact your direct elected congressman who represents you. Contact both of your senators and say, we do not want, at this time, because there may be a time in the future
There
where
may come a time,
necessarily
but this is
right,
not it.
Israel and other countries say, hey, this is out of control. It is not out of control in terms of endangering other countries. We have a situation where an internecine, a family squabble is going on for 1,400 years, and the way Muslims solve family squabbles, Abdullah is how?
We kill each other. What is it? There is only one way. If one side will not change and the other side will not change, it is which side will win. And this has been going on for 1,400 years. You notice we are winning. 85% to 15% Muslims are Sunni. So this should
I
not...
thought it was 80-20.
No, it's
85-15, Kufar. Why is it you're telling me this?
You're losing. What Imam Abdullah you fool is saying is, out of the 1.3 billion Muslims in the world, only 2.3 million in the United States, not 7 or 8 million, like President Obama says every time he speaks. He is lying. If he doesn't know factually the number of Muslims in America, all he has to do is Google it.
Right.
He just has to Google the census of 2010.
Himself?
Well, he could have one of his one of his functionaries
There you go.
or acolytes,
One of
and
his
obviously,
familiars.
obviously, his team is providing this propaganda to him to keep pace with the Jewish community, which is 6 or 7 million in the United States. But there's 1.3 billion Muslims worldwide. 85% of those, somebody do the math, 85% of those
Of how
are
much?
Sunni.
Over 1
85%
billion.
1.3. Over 1 billion.
Billion with a B.
Are Sunni Muslims. The best way to get in your mind a figure or an image, a Saudi Muslim. The way Saudi Arabia functions, highly religious, very dedicated.
Wahhabist.
Yeah, Wahhabis, very dedicated to the religion,
Al-Qaeda.
keeping the...
Well, some
Now,
people
No
may
churches,
not know what
no
is-
churches, no synagogues. In fact, we do not even allow a Jew to use our airport to fly through to another country.
That's right. There you go. That's Sunni Islam.
Well, people don't know where the split came from because
Let me
in
give it the other
in
side,
begin-
then you can give
Okay.
that. The other 15%, or 300,000 or 400,000, half a
Million.
Million.
three or 400.
The numbers are
million.
startling. That's why
Yeah,
it's
they
so
are. They're
hard.
so large. They have a lot of babies. The Shia side, they are, best way to understand those is Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, or one of Ayatollah Khomeini when he took over, when he led the revolution back into Iran in 1979. Ayatollah Khomeini, he represents the Shia religion. Picture King, who's the king right now? Fayed,
Fayed.
the Saudi king, Fayed.
Fad.
Yeah, F-A-I-D. Picture the big fat king with a little mustache and gold and everything of Saudi Arabia, and next to him Ayatollah Khomeini. That's Islam. There they are. Look at that. That's beautiful. That's the Sunni on the left. They wear a lot of white, and they use the red as a symbol of Saudi Arabia. And the Shia wear a lot of black, particularly black turbans. If a Shia Muslim is wearing a black turban, he has the blood of Muhammad flowing through his veins, supposedly. Only the ones that wear black turbans can trace the bloodline back to Muhammad. They're killing each other in Syria. Let's find out how it started.
Now, to just
Then
give
we'll
people
work our
an
way
idea
up.
of the proportion of it's actually really massive proportion. It's comparatively speaking to the population of the United States. That would be the Shia population,
Okay.
compared to the world population. Just
Not
that's
to the world. The world's 7 billion people.
yeah, we're 230 million.
No,
330.
We're 330.
Well, all right, I'm just saying, but that gives you an idea of the graphic representation of the difference. It is about, put it towards China then, if you
Oh,
will.
toward China. Yeah.
Okay.
The
So
United
about-
States toward China.
Right, and so it's a huge
huge.
difference, huge difference. So
And let's explain to the good folks why these folks are fighting each other, and maybe that can help us understand how to stop
I don't
them.
get it.
Because they are
I-
filthy heretics. That is why.
I don't get it. I'm looking at it side by side.
They
It's
do,
so
they
close.
do not. They do not agree with the will of Muhammad.
That's
And if you
bloodline.
break the will of Muhammad, you are not following Islam and Allah.
Well, we got for those of you watching, you'll see the Sunni Shia various images we're putting up that illustrate the battle. For those of you driving at 35 minutes after 5 on the 10th, one day before 9/11, send this show out. Ask all your friends to call your senators and your representatives. No on intervention in Syria. Here's the basic issue. When Muhammad was born, when he at 40 years old, we know the history. Gabriel came to him from Allah, recited all this stuff. He went and told others about it. They compiled it. The Quran was developed. At some point, Muhammad died. Okay, when he died, the question from there was, who's going to take over this little gang?
Yeah.
This little cool thing we got, pillaging and raping and running all over the place. And
Sex slaves.
we can scream God's name. We get booty. We get whatever we want. People are afraid of us. Who's going to continue the pillaging and the craziness?
So it's the lineage required to be the Muslim leader. Is one of the
Well.
main-
You wait 1 second.
Well,
It is.
go ahead.
No.
Muhammad had a wife. Remember his wife?
Aisha.
Yeah.
Cute little girl.
Aisha.
How old
and-
was she when she was married?
Yeah, she was like, I think, 4 months. when
No,
got
6.
married.
She was 6 years old
Oh,
at
6
marriage.
years. Oh, she was old.
But the gentleman that he is, he waited till she was 9 for consummation.
Oh, how nice. Different culture then. And I've heard so many Muslims say, it was a different culture then.
Of course it was. Of course it was. Only it still happens today.
Here's what we got, folks. Dig this, because this is the root
It's the
of the
successions.
Syrian war. The Syrian war. You have Muhammad dies. Ooh, they go to his funeral, and
Yeah.
and like
And they start
like
fighting
La Cosa
right
Nostra,
away.
They
Yeah.
go, all right, who's taking over the family? Who's running it? Aisha said, well, my father thinks, and her father was very influential in Muhammad's life. My father thinks that Muhammad's cousin, he should do it. He has the blood of Muhammad, and he should be the head of the family. Well, Muhammad had 4 advisors that were advising him in his raping and pillaging and plundering. And the 4 advisors said, no, Muhammad told us that when he died, we're to elect someone. And whoever we elect becomes the leader, and we're going to call that the Don,
The Caliph.
the Caliph, that's right. It's so similar between
It's so
these 2
close.
organizations. So
You always
how
want to
close
bring it
them
back
up.
to Italy, don't you?
So the battle from the death of Muhammad, which was in 671, I think we can fact check that. The battle was over whether the continuation of Muhammad's authority from Allah is through the bloodline of Muhammad, which is the Shia argument, or whether it's through the electoral
No.
process.
Reversed.
No. Whether it's through the electoral process of the advisors electing the next leader of the family, which is the Sunni side of the equation.
I think that's reversed.
No.
632.
632?
632.
610, 570.
570 to
Yeah.
632, so
To
62.
610, he started getting all his stuff.
Oh,
So
yeah.
The Shia say the
Right.
bloodline is the true continuation of authority from Allah, and the bloodline are the Shia. And the Sunnis say, no, it was an electoral process electing a caliphate. And since 632,
Yes.
Yeah.
how many years is that? That this
That's
fight
a
has
long
been going
time
on?
ago.
Maybe Obama can solve this problem that's been going on since 632. We're
Only
going to-
1,381 years.
All right, this has been
Okay,
going
we're
But,
on.
going to
but
round
Obama
that
can
off
figure
to
this out.
1,400.
What do you do? What do you do if you live in a neighborhood? Come back here for somewhere. What do you do if you live in a neighborhood? I'm making an analogy, folks, to show the absurdity of intervening in this war. Some people believe, and I'm of this persuasion, that that Islam right now, through the OIC, Organization of Islamic Cooperation, is making a gigantic public relations push as a great participant in globalism, interfaith activity, and involvement in world affairs. And many of us are saying, no. This is a failed system, failed people, and it is deleterious to interjecting Islamic culture into Western culture by their own lips. They say this, and so many of us are saying this is a graphic example of the failure of Islam to solve their own problems, let alone come to the United States of America and get involved in interfaith councils, to get involved in pro-human rights organizations. To the Muslim Brotherhood is on every single human rights commission in the United States. Why are we listening to people who simply can't solve their own problem? we should take a look at Syria and put like a globe over it, sell tickets to it, and say, why don't we challenge Muslims worldwide, the OIC, CARE, Council on American Islamic Relations, ISNA, ICNA, all these groups. Why don't we challenge them to solve their own damn problem in Syria? Why does the United States have to come in and use our blood and treasure to help Muslims stop killing each other, who are never going to stop killing each other? What sense does that make?
Yeah, I'll tell you what it is. The reason is they don't think they have a problem.
That is not true. They're calling for intervention.
Yeah,
He's
don't think
asking
they
you why
have a
they
problem.
want the United
Where-
States to come in
where-
and help with it.
Where name one place in the world where Islam has actually worked as a functioning government that does not support terrorism or aid terrorism in some way.
And can feed its people
Can feed
and
its
has
people.
a vibrant economy.
But that's
and
not the
arts
goal
and
of
that.
Islam.
It's not the goal of Islam.
That's not the goal of Islam. You're judging it by our standards.
good
The
point.
goal of Islam is to
They're
run the
quite-
world.
They're quite successful in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, in Saudi Arabia,
Oh, well, actually,
in
but
Yemen, in Oman,
Successful at what?
Bahrain,
Oh, she's
Qatar,
right. She's very
Jordan,
right.
Iraq.
What are they successful at?
All right, let
They
her
are
talk.
successful at being predominantly Muslim countries with Sharia law as the foundation of their society.
Well, look at Qatar.
They
It
are a
works.
success
Oh, Qatar
story.
works. I mean, I heard this argument. Oh, well, look at Qatar. It works. It gives all its people, free health care, free this, free that, and yeah, but it also, women are property. They have massive amounts of slavery. They have all this other stuff. Even if you give Islam billions and billions and billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars, there's still going to be ruthless animals.
But that's her point. Her
That's
point
my
is
point. That is,
I'm agreeing with you.
it's the goal of Islam is not to be anything but Islamic.
suppressive.
Suppressive.
This is what Islam.
Totalitarian,
This is
yeah.
what Islam is. That's why they are a success. They're not a failure.
Look at
And
from
not
our
only that,
standpoint,
they're
yeah.
even more successful if you look at it from a PR point of view, because they got the rest of the world fooled into thinking that they're actually
Something else.
something else.
Right.
Very good
And
point.
this is where it comes into the psychology of the people in this administration who feel that they have to intervene into the affairs of these Muslim countries, is that they think, they're just like us, just a little bit different.
No, you look at Saudi Arabia. It's once again, 1/3 of every dollar of gallon of 1/3 of every dollar goes right over to Saudi Arabia. So they got billions of dollars going over there. What are they? They are a massive welfare state. Over 70% of the population is on welfare. The other 30% of it,
So what?
just throws it away. All right, now
Well,
also,
yeah.
hold on, I'm getting to the
Okay,
point.
okay.
I'm getting to the point where, and on top of it, you cannot build a synagogue in Saudi Arabia. You're not even right to go into a lot of places. You
But
talk
you
about
can.
apartheid.
Okay.
And you're talking about the abuses of women's rights. You're talking about the killing of gays. Everything that you liberals stand for. Hello, McFly. Okay? You give them billions and billions of dollars. The problem is not finances. It's not money. It is not anything but Islam.
Yep. It's a
That is
worldview.
one angry zookeeper.
Yeah. He's a beekeeper. Put a net on his face. He looks like a beekeeper.
And what they're
This is a very
fighting
important point for
for
the audience.
amongst each other is
It's
First
fighting.
of all,
Fighting is
fighting
an
is
end in and
fighting.
of itself.
Okay.
They're in
This
the
is-
jihad.
And they promote
These-
terrorism. Even the Saudi Arabians and everybody promote terrorism left and right. I mean, wake up.
you
This
can't
may
you
be
can't
hard.
leave
Yeah.
you can't leave out the tribalist aspect of the people who practice Islam
Mm-hmm.
for one thing. Okay, but 85% you said are Sunni and 15% Shia, and some smaller minority than that are just plain heretics of
Apostates.
who knows what they are, right?
One Sunni.
Well,
There's one Muslim out
No,
there.
no, no,
that-
no, no. What's Assad?
Oh, the
An
Alawites?
Alawite Shia.
He's a Shia. He's a denomination broken off from the Shia. That's a little bizarre.
Right.
very
All right.
mystical, all of this.
Okay, so
When you-
that's why I'm saying he's like
But he
category.
worships with the Shia
Right.
He's
mosques.
he's
When you say-
category other.
When you
He's
say
a Shia.
When you say
Okay, so
tri-
this is
I-
a
hold
golden
on.
opportunity for the Sunnis to go after the Shias. What do they care? Who?
That's
you know,
exactly what this whole thing is. It is the Muslim Brotherhood Sunni, our administration that is advised and coddled by and run over and infiltrated by the Muslim Brotherhood and the Wahhabists, and we are acting as their army to fight the Shia for them.
Yes.
And Syria is the
That's it.
client.
All right.
Syria is the client of Iran. Syria is the host of Hezbollah, and Iran, Hezbollah. Who's their big enemy?
Who, Hezbollah?
Yeah,
Us, Israel.
Israel.
Yeah.
And Hamas.
No, well,
Israel.
they get along with
Now
Hamas.
they want to depose Assad in Syria. Why? Because he's not
it's Sunni
Islamic.
versus Shia.
Because he's not Islamic enough for them.
Right, because
Well, he's
listen,
a- he's
it
a-
is
he's a
Sunni
heretic.
versus Shia.
Not even
Well,
because
the
he's
people-
Shia,
let
not
me-
even
let me-
because
let me
he's
make sense for
Shia,
the people here.
but because he's too westernized.
Well,
for
Being an
them.
Alawite is
He
too
was praying.
westernized for the Sunnis.
He was praying. That's why there is a piece of the strategy where you let Assad stay where he is, because he was protecting the Christians, he was protecting the Kurds, was protecting the Alawites from the crazies, because he is Western to some extent. But for the sake of our listeners and viewers, we're bringing you into our world here as we try to delineate some of the distinctives and differences between the two warring factions. It's a religious war at its base. That religious war has its roots in 1300 and how many?
80.
1381 years ago.
1382 years ago it started. It ain't going to be, it's going to go on forever. And CJ had a very, very good point. We are creating a report card for Muslims that says in freedom you get an A or an F. And we're saying, well, they got C's. In justice, we'll give them a grade. In liberty, we'll give them a grade. In women's rights, we'll give them a grade. The problem is the definition of freedom, justice, liberty, and women's rights is completely different from ours.
It's diametrically
So whereas
opposed.
we give them an F in
Yeah.
freedom,
They get an A.
they get an A. We give them an F in women's rights. They go,
Right.
we got an A.
Hey.
This is who we are. This is what we are.
Yeah.
The only thing that changes today, the leaders are saying, well, we know the military won't bring around a military solution. It's got to be a political solution. Well, there's not
That's
going to
it
be a
is-
political
Because
solution.
it's Islam.
No, it's going to be a heart issue, changing of the heart. It's a philosophical problem at its base. You've got to change that. People have to leave Islam because an end of one of the end states of Islam is to be at war. All the jihadis worldwide that are coming into Syria to fight each other, that's part of the ongoing process of the bellicose component.
That's
war
how they get
component
into
of Islam.
heaven,
That's
right?
how they get into heaven. This is wonder for them. And all the
Yeah.
scholars are telling people, go there and war on both sides.
There is no
It's a-
higher honor. There
There's
is no
no higher
better
honor.
way to die than in the name of Allah and jihad.
You want to change that dynamic in a minute? Take Netanyahu and Obama and say, we're standing together and we're going to attack Syria. And guess what happens, folks? The Sunnis that are chewing each other's heads off and the Shia, they automatically go like this. Oh, a Jew and an American. Okay, now we fight them. And that's exactly
Yes.
what will happen.
Like I have said many times, our first goal is to get rid of the people of Saturday, the people of Sunday, and us people of Friday will then figure it out amongst
Now,
ourselves.
let's go back to Benghazi for a second, since we're coming up on a 1-year anniversary.
Okay.
What was the whole purpose of Benghazi? Why were they in there? Where were they running those guns and weapons to?
Why were they in Benghazi?
Why
They
were
were
they
in
in
Benghazi.
Benghazi?
Our ambassador was in Benghazi
Why were we there?
because he was meeting with the Turkish diplomat who was arranging for the arms transfer of Gaddafi's seized arms.
The man pads and a whole bunch of other guns, too.
Yeah, that the Turkish were running to.
How did Gaddafi's guns get out of Gaddafi's hands?
And you go back to
Oh,
that one picture
yeah,
you showed
good
earlier.
question.
You remember, Damon? Remember that one picture you had earlier where they're standing in front and the guy's holding
Yes.
an M16? Where do you think that M16 came from?
Us.
How do you think it got there? How do you think that M16?
It got there
The
via
Turks
Turkey.
found the Turks had the weapons, American weapons, going from Benghazi into Turkey and then back to Syria. I mean, they caught us shipping it. We
So
were
the whole-
harming the
all right,
Syrians.
So let's go way back to Benghazi, okay? Because it's such a long time ago. Let's go
1
way-
year ago,
let's
folks.
Let's go back to Benghazi. What was the purpose of Obama overthrowing Gaddafi?
Gaddafi. I still don't understand.
Well,
I don't
first of all,
know.
Gaddafi was pretty much contained.
Very contained.
He was
Yeah.
very
And
contained.
well, hang on. Containment for our audience now today at 51 minutes after 5 o'clock, 10th of
He
September.
gave up his weapons of mass
Containment
destruction.
Yes.
is a national security strategy we ought to be employing to contain evil in an area. Draw a red line around it and say, you want to chop each other's heads off? Go for it. You know, we're not going to get involved in that. You step on the line out here and you're going to get hurt. That's the way we had Libya's President Gaddafi, Colonel Gaddafi contained.
And we got rid of his weapons of mass destruction
gave them
by
up.
containment. And he actually voluntarily gave up his nuclear power program and a lot of his other. He stopped the
And
terrorism.
why is
And
that,
he
by
actually
the way?
stopped-
Because that was George
Because he had
W.
20
Bush.
gigantic Amazon
Because
blonde
he
women, that's why.
because he knew that when the president of the United States at the time, who was George W. Bush, said, "You give this stuff up, or we're
Well,
taking you out,
right.
and you better
Agreed.
believe that we mean it." And
Yep.
he said, "Oh, geez, yeah,
Yep.
you're gonna do it.
That
I give
happened.
up. I quit.
That
I
happened.
surrender." Okay.
Now,
That
so
happened.
take that from Benghazi, from that starting point. So a long time ago, Obama wanted to fund the Muslim Brotherhood fighters against Syria way back during the Gaddafi days. So that's the reason he was running guns out there. And one of the things he had to
Well, the Syrian war was going on.
Syrian war was going on, and he wanted to run guns up there to Syria.
Through Turkey into Syria to assist
Meaning
the
he
rebels.
wanted to supply terrorist Al Qaeda with guns to fight Assad.
Yes.
He also wanted.
And now he wants to
Hold on,
use
I'm
our
not
Air
done.
All right,
Force
let's
for
let-
it.
Let Mark work through this. Go ahead.
Okay, so
Got a
that's
couple
what
minutes.
he wanted to do. Okay, he had to control the area of Benghazi. Well, the people in Benghazi didn't like that, and there was
What people? What,
the people the government of Benghazi, the people of Benghazi, who said you
Oh.
don't supply terrorists. You don't want. We don't want you giving them guns and
the
weapons.
Martyrs Brigade.
We don't want to. And that's where the big, the start of the complication started, was back in Benghazi. That was the impetus of the whole conflict. Was the rebels were being supplied with weapons and guns were being run, and it was making tribes mad. They said that we don't want these other tribes having all these guns
Right.
going against our
But-
policy.
but it
That's
wa-
the reason it all broke down.
But it was part of a bigger picture too. Why take Gaddafi down? Why intervene in Syria? Why do you care? Why do you care what happens
Gaddafi
in
didn't
Egypt?
want
No, why does
Al
it matter
Qaeda
to
having weapons.
United
Obama?
States.
The
Yeah.
Because it's-
Brotherhood.
Yep.
That is why.
Because it's part of
All
the
comes back.
mythology of the Arab Spring, which is the foundation of Barack Obama's foreign policy, his
Could-
international
veneer.
aspirations
Could-
as laid out in his first tour, in his first term, when he
The only
gave
way
his
Gaddafi
speech in
could've
Cairo. He announced to the world, "This is what I stand for." And when he saw it starting to unfold in Tunisia and spreading elsewhere in northern Africa, he wanted to be a part of that, to
Yep.
instigate it, to support it, and to say, "See,
Well, and one of the
look
reasons,
what I
not
brought
only-
to the world."
Not only was that an interest of his, as he said, but he was at that point being highly advised by at least 6 Muslim Brotherhood operatives in the White House. So all of this stuff
Right.
comes together. So what are we going to do about it?
So the whole nexus of the whole thing started in Benghazi, which leads up to today. Is what's the point is he's been wanting to supply and help the Muslim Brotherhood the whole time. This is not a new paradigm. This is an old paradigm that he started way back in Benghazi to overthrow Gaddafi.
I think I got the solution. I think I got to the whole thing. If we,
Oh.
there we go.
Fine.
If we do what I'm saying right now, I'm going to suggest we have the solution not only to
Hocus
the
pocus and twitch our noses.
not only to the crisis in Syria and Tunisia and Egypt and all that, but probably world peace, global peace, at least according to this administration, if we do what I'm going to say right now. What we need to do is go re-arrest Nakuma, whatever his name is, Nakuma.
Right?
Rearrest him and put him in a dungeon for eternity for making that movie Innocence of Idiots
Muslims,
or
yeah.
Innocence of
Innocence of
Muslims.
Muslims.
Because if he didn't make that movie,
None
we
of
would
this
be
would happen.
experiencing world peace right now. The Sunni and the Shia would be sitting down, breaking
That is a
Um,
great idea,
Yeah, but you know what?
Trento.
You would, but you're missing one little piece
what's
here.
that?
Is there would still be the problem of those pesky Jews are still in
Oh,
Jerusalem.
Damn.
And
man,
you
I
know
forgot
what?
about them.
In all this Syria mess, and we're not talking
Forgot
about
about
what's
the Jews.
happening in Egypt anymore. What about those the restart of all those big peace talks between the Palestinians
I
and
don't
the
know.
Israelis? Whatever
you
happened
know,
with that?
I don't know, but when the United States
Dang, Jews, they just mess up everything, CJ. We had the whole world peace solved by putting
You had
one
it
guy
all
in jail.
solved except for those
The
pesky
basic-
Jews.
In fact,
are
this whole thing with Syria is a Zionist.
insist
this
on
is
building
a
apartments
Zionist
in their own
plan.
capital.
none of this matters.
What is the real problem in the Middle East, Imam?
Jews.
None of this
Juice?
matters.
Like grape juice? Or
No, like the Jews.
None of this
like the
matters.
juice, like the
The Jews of
J-O-O-S.
Israel, of the Abrahamic religion.
None
that
of
go to
this matters.
synagogue.
So if all the Jews were eradicated from the face of the earth, would that be okay with you?
That would be more than okay with me.
None of this matters because through the leadership of this Obama administration, when President Obama can bring such dynamic, close, interpersonal, and long-lasting relationships between a former enemy, the Soviet Union, now Russia, when he can bring Russia and the United States together as he has, then really all is well with the world.
Just Trento, such a funny man.
Tom, you're not done solving world peace. We still got a little bit more time to fill here.
Wrong country. I
Okay.
forgot.
Now let me ask. Can I ask the imam a question?
Sure. We got about a minute left.
Okay.
And then it's
What
9/11
happens-
tomorrow.
What
I have
happens?
like 2 minutes.
What happens to all those Sunnis? if-
When I say a minute,
You have 2 minutes.
I know how
Oh,
much
we have
time.
1
Looking at the clock,
You just waste.
I reserve the last
Thanks
minute.
for wasting 15 seconds.
Okay, what happens
Yeah.
to all those Sunnis if the 12th imam, the hidden one, comes back and
This will
they're
not
not in
happen.
line?
This will not happen, but we must make sure. That is what this is about. That is, your president, your administration is taking the side of the Sunnis to make sure that this does not happen. We do not want the 12ers, the Shia, to have the opportunity to make their 12th Imam appear.
Okay,
They are
s-
crazy. That is what we're trying to do. We're trying to help your government get rid of the Shia for us, with us, with us, not
But
for
if
us, with
that's
us.
true, then why is the president so reluctant to attack Iran and stop their nuclear program?
Now, that's what should happen. If all of this led to an attack on Iran. See, the problem here, folks, is when you have 1,382 years of internecine warfare, which is part and parcel of the working out of each side's faith, then scrambling around, throwing a few knives and spoons and forks to screw up their Cheerios isn't going to make one bit of damn difference. The only solution for Islamic Jihad now is devastating firepower, overwhelming force, containment, death, and destruction to keep these killers who are uncivilized. They're properly civilized in their view. They're uncivilized according to the West. We have a clash of civilizations. We have to realize it. The good Muslims that don't want to be part of that, we're with you. Come and stand with us. Those who want Islamic Jihad, as we've said many times, you're our enemy. And tomorrow, 9/11, will illustrate how serious we are. See ya.
Thank you.